get started?
Yeah, no, it's all good. Joel, you had a question. Go ahead and drop it in chat. I don't know if I can unmute you or not. I will try.
You should be able to promote anybody.
All right. I can make you a presenter, which will allow you to ask your question, Joel. So there you go. You are now a presenter. You can take yourself off mute. You can answer your question. Then I'm going to push you back down. So just
Test. Can you hear me?
we can.
I was going to put it in chat, but I don't see a chat option.
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead and ask it.
I had a question about adjusting the size of your video feed so you can see what you look like. It seems like when I do a one-on-one meeting or a small meeting, it puts me on a small tile on the bottom left, and I can't see if I'm in frame or not. I know, like in presenter mode, there might be a way to make yourself larger, but it's just frustrating. You just can't see yourself.
If you right-click, you can do pin for me. That's a new feature that we have. I just did it, so now I'm the big full screen that you can see in the center. So if you turn on your camera and you right-click your image, you can do pin for me, and then you can do unpin for me, and you can do that to anybody, and that works really well.
All right, I'll give it a try. Thanks.
Yeah, give it a try. See if that works for you. Here, actually, I'll share and I'll show what that looks like. Let's see. I don't know how well this will work, but I'll give it a try. So let's see. Here I do this. I'll go big. So here's how it looks now. And if I do pin for me, that's how it's going to look now. So that's the experience. So now you can see it's full size and really big, and my camera's moving back and forth and all that. I can do that with any presenter. I'm not affecting anybody else, but it is a good way for you to be able to see. And then I can do spotlight for everyone, which will spotlight me now in the meeting for everybody. And you can spotlight anybody by simply, again, right mouse clicking them and choosing spotlight. And then you can exit spotlight or unpin for me, which you can do. So now I've unpinned myself, and then I can exit spotlight. And then now my video is no longer highlighted for everybody, and we're back at kind of this main view.
Can you do that for one-on-one meetings, or do you have to have multiple attendees?
You can do it for one-on-one meetings as well.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, next question. I might as well leave sharing up at this point, so in case somebody else wants to see something. So how does captions work? If I turn them on, is it just for me or for the whole team? That's a great question. So we have captions enabled in this one, but we can't. Oh yeah, here we go. Turn on live captions. So live captions, I've just turned it on. So I can see the live captions. You're not going to see it unless you turn it on. So it is for that person. And that's different than transcript, where I can do show transcript. And what you'll see is over on the right, that transcript is there, and I can see everything that is being said. And we can see everything that has been set up to that point. So those are a little bit different. We can go back and hide the transcript. So that is what that looks like. And we're also now going to be supporting multiple languages for that. So you can change spoken language. And there are a bunch of languages now that you can right mouse click and do, but it will default always to whatever the keyboard language is on the device. So that's what the default will be. Transcript isn't new. Transcript has been around now for about 8 months, 9 months. But again, not every tenant may have had it, may have taken a little bit while, but transcript has been there for at least 6 months, but it's great. And that's the same transcript that downloads with the video. So when you're searching your video for specific words, it's that transcript file that is there for that. So that's it. So Jay asked, we used to be able to filter search results by content in the subject. Within the new search experience, it's gone. I don't know why that changed. I'll find out. So I'll ask and I'll see what I can find out. Sasha asked a question. So hang on, Sasha. I'm going to make you a presenter so that you can turn on your mic and ask your question. And I'm going to turn off my transcription.
Hi, Steve. Nice to meet you. It's Sasha from Germany. I had a question regarding the intelligent speaker feature. Do you have estimated time when it will be available in Europe?
Which feature is that? The intelligent speaker?
For the intelligent speaker, I mean, for EPOS or from Yelling, the product, who can identify a person in a meeting from a...
Yes. That is going to roll out in the next few months. You're already starting to see some of it, where I can see right now, you can see on the screen that you are highlighted in yellow, which is showing me that you are speaking. So we can see that there, and we'll start to see that with more folks. Right now it's for the hands up, and then when you speak, you'll see it pulse. If you were on video, your video would then have a little highlight around it. So we're already starting to see some of that hit. To the level of the video that I showed in my session, we'll see that in the first half of 2022. So we'll see that by June. You should see that starting to come out.
Okay, thank you very much, Steve.
Yep. But see how when you're talking, see how your circle's already highlighted. So go ahead and say something, Sasha.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Yep. So it's already starting to roll out in some of the tenants. So yep, you'll absolutely do that.
Thanks. Stay healthy. Bye-bye.
No problem. All right. I'm going to make Raquel a speaker. Go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, I'm actually streaming this on YouTube right now. I wanted to ask if there's any, I don't know, streaming options, I guess, for Teams that are better than what I'm doing right now, which is basically cropping everything around and shifting everything around. So I wanted to ask if there's something better than that.
Yeah, we do support full NDI inside of Teams. It does have to be turned on at the tenant level. So with that, you can actually use OBS as a broadcasting tool. We support LinkedIn Live for broadcast. You can use Wirecast, Riverside. You can use any of those tools as a way to broadcast out and to manage your broadcasts in Teams. The only thing is you will have to have NDI turned on in your tenant. Does that answer your question?
I think so. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and if you need some documentation on it, there is some on docs.microsoft.com. So if you type in NDI, you'll see how to turn that on and all the different tools. I use OBS, and OBS works really, really well for me. It's free, which is great. But if you're looking for a higher level solution, check out Riverside is a good one. It's not outrageously expensive, but it has a lot of professional features, and LinkedIn Live works really well, and that one's also free. So those are good ones. And of course, you can continue to use YouTube.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Christina, let's make you a presenter and we'll get your question since you raised your hand twice. Go for it, Christina.
Oh, I didn't realize it did it twice. Oh, is that a new feature? How did I do that twice?
So. I know it just tells me that you're number two.
Oh, that's what I thought.
You were the second person to raise your hand because now we have a numbering feature. So
that's what I thought. That's actually awesome. So I have a question because this is coming up a lot as I do screen shares, different resolutions and stuff. And the biggest ask I've been getting lately is people want the ability, or is there going to eventually be the ability where people can actually zoom what's being displayed? So for example, like in GoToMeeting or GoToMeeting or whatever the other one's, WebEx or GoToMeeting, you can actually zoom the percentage, have it fit.
Got it.
Right, 100% or whatever like that, and that's bigger than what did you? Well, you did the magnify, right?
Yes. No, I didn't. I actually did zoom it, which is what I've been using.
Oh, I love zoom it. I do use zoom.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to be bringing that. I know there's been an ask to bring that into the product. I know Zoom It right now, we're looking at how to integrate that more deeply into the product. So I think there's some talks. I don't have a timeline on it. It's not on our roadmap, but Zoom It is right now, which is a free app you can download, is the best way to do it. And it'll go right. And you can actually pick what that level is and what your hotkeys are. So I'd say keep using Zoom It until we bring it into the product.
For me as a presenter, it's been fine, but what it is has been like end users or people that aren't very technical that are like, hey, Christina, I'm having a hard time seeing. So I'll zoom in, but then you'll have people sharing and with the different resolutions and stuff. So, but yeah, completely get it.
Yeah, it's somewhere. The only problem is when people start to increase resolution on their end, it does affect video because now we're rewriting every time they zoom in, we're rewriting more and more pixels. So the problem is, and this is the problem that other products that do support that, is if somebody has it going bigger, all of a sudden the whole thing slows down. And they're like, well, why am I hearing things 10 seconds later? And why is my video so choppy? Because they've made the screen so big and increased the pixel size that it slowed it down. So we're trying to make sure that if you do it, it is a solid experience on both ends and that we don't have, oh yeah, you've done that and now you're running into those issues. So it's something that we're working on, but we want to make sure that it doesn't change the experience within the product. And that's something that we've seen with some of our competitors.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, what I've been doing lately or telling people to do is just when they're presenting, especially if it's being for a recording, is to lower the resolution to 1920 by 1080.
Yes, and that's always the best thing. Plus, it's going to be faster and easier for you. It's going to look better. Yep. So, and we do that also on my show. We do it at 1024 by 768. So it's a good idea to lower that, to decrease the resolution, which is going to make it look better than trying to do a big screen at 3096, which is going to be able to be difficult. So yeah, but I think that could be, it's something we're working on, but I don't have a timeline on it.
Yep, sure. No problem.
Yep. Mute all but presenters. That is also something that I know that we're discussing. I don't know if we have a specific timeline on it, but it's something else that has been discussed. New features that have been released. I talked about most of them in my session, but you know what? I'll bring that deck back up just in case some folks missed that, and I can talk to a few of those again. So give me a moment. See thing going on in the background. Oh, that's the wrong one. Adoption master. I want the other one. All right. So what are some of the new cool features that have come out? Let me wait for this to finish coming up. It's going to take a few moments to load, but I'll go through a few of them that are going to be hitting. So let's see if I go down. What are some of the big ones? Loop. Loop is obviously one of our biggest features that we have coming up. Is everybody familiar or at least understand what Loop is? And I'm happy to take a few moments and talk more about it as I go through these. So if you do, just say, type in chat, yes, more please on Loop or whatever. Loop is probably going to be one of the biggest game changer features that you're going to see, being released in the next few months. So that's a big one. We've added to our editor some context IQ, which is basically say if you're writing an email to somebody, and you say, hey, based on the presentation you sent me, and it will automatically know what that presentation is, and it will drop it in. And if you start to mention people, it will automatically drop those folks in. Or if you say, let's find it, here are the times I'm available on Thursday, it'll actually give you a list and you can actually drop those in, and those will correspond when somebody else is free. So bringing intelligence into email, Teams, etc. That's a really big one. All of the new feature changes that we've done to, and I'll make this bigger, to Whiteboard, that's been another new one. Teams Connect being one of the biggest, so that you can now add external users at the click of a button to a specific conversation or a specific channel within a team without having to go through and give them guest access and create accounts for them and go that route. That's a really, really big one, and folks have been super excited about that one. I'm waiting for it. We've now released all the different modes, the different presenter modes and reporter modes and dynamic view. The PowerPoint Live feature, I recommend that you do the present in Teams and don't ever do what I'm doing right now, which is a big old screen share, but we were having problems getting the present in Teams to work. It will be much faster. It will look better. We've increased the limits for people in our town halls, webinars, broadcast, and live events, and we've added a lot more information to the post-event reporting and registration. We have brought in some of the new conference features that we talked about, Mesh for Teams, which is something that we talked about pretty extensively at Ignite. Hot desking, the ability for you to be able to take a device, put it down at a desk and have somebody log in and be able to do all their Teams meetings, email, etc., and then log out of that device when they're done and not need a separate PC. Of course, Viva, which we've had a lot of sessions on, and a ton of new security features, including multi-geo. We've brought in adaptive policies and end-to-end encryption and public preview, our compliancy program for third-party apps, auto labeling, enhancements for both SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams. So all of those have come in, and then Cloud PC with Windows 365, which fully supports Teams, OneDrive, Outlook, etc. All of those are some of the biggest new features that we've released. Any questions on any of those? Anything anybody would like for me to come in, go in a little bit deeper on that? I'm more than happy to. Feel free just to raise your hand or jump into chat. Yeah, go ahead, Sasha.
Regarding to the Think Smart displays with this hot desk feature,
Yes.
is it possible that you can book the device like a resource account in Teams? So when it's standing in a let's say hot meeting area and it's on a desk, and you can book it forward so that you can just go to the table and it's reserved for you.
It's even more so. The idea is and let me do this. I'll actually share a little, I have a little motion graphic in here that I think will help. The idea is that you don't need to book it as a resource. The idea is that the actual end user will actually log in with their own account. So here's what's going to happen is they're going to sit down at the device. They're going to log in with their personal credentials, then log in, and then what will show up is this is their team instance. So the device is already there. They're logging in. They're logging in as themselves. This is different than like a Teams room device, which is great. All the chats are popping up, their calendar, availability, etc. They can pair it with a headset. There's a camera built in, and then when they're done, they log out and that's ready for someone else. So what's great is you don't need to set this up as a device, but you can set it up literally as a hot desk, meaning someone can sit down and immediately go into that device, which is actually a better scenario and different from our Teams room scenario. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Satish, go ahead.
Steve, in terms of the communication between the Teams commercial and the Teams personal platform, the two platform, when are we releasing that updates?
Meaning that you can talk across those, that business customers can talk with consumers and consumers to customers?
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah,
that's correct.
That is actually coming in the next few weeks. We'll have an announcement for that. I think we said that was going to hit in first quarter of 2022, and I believe we're still on track with that. So we'll see that hit in the next, in insider preview, you'll probably see that show up in the next few weeks, and you'll probably see it hit GA by summer. But we'll allow that. But again, that will have to be turned on internally. That does have to go to the allowed mode so that companies can choose to turn that off or leave that on. So.
Good. And one follow-up question is in terms of, so this is more around the retail customers or the retail organizations. So if you know that in most of the retail stores, we have that deckless phones or the wireless phones. Is there any roadmap or TAP program coming up for the wireless phones, something like that?
What do you mean by wireless phones? What exactly are you looking for? Hot desking on wireless devices, or what exactly are you looking for?
No, basically this is more for the frontline workers. Like they have their a walkie-talkie kind of a wireless phone that they have.
Right. And walkie-talkie feature is currently available in Teams Mobile.
It's available in Teams Mobile, but we do not have a dedicated deck phones, something like that.
No, I don't think we're going to have a device, a Teams type device that we're planning on. And what we're seeing from most retail is they don't want a dedicated device like our old Windows CE phones and things like that. What we're seeing is if they're on Android, that they're adding it as part of the work profile. So within Android and using MDM, you can actually set up a personal and a work profile. And with the work profile, those are the apps that are installed, and those apps can only share files with business users. You can't move it to personal. So then if they're running Teams, they can then turn on, whether they're on iOS or Android, that walkie-talkie feature can be turned on by team and they'd be able to use it. Or if you give them a corporate owned device, then that would be dedicated. But we're not. There may be some third-party companies that may be looking at that. But with MDM and the fact that you can separate the work apps and the work content from personal content, we're really seeing that as the way that most of our customers are going. And if you've taken a look at our case studies, you'll see that as well. Does that answer your question, Satish?
Absolutely, Steve.
Great. Go ahead, Sasha.
What is possible? I think what is possible for Satish should be a solution with audio cord, small session border controller, and the poly roof series, so that it's an opportunity that you can put there a normal phone number from your region on that session border controller and connect it with the DECT poly roof series, and then you have the things you need, Satish, for that.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Any other questions? This is your chance. And then I'll also take a moment and I will pitch my show. I do have a show called Inside Microsoft Teams. I'll put a link here in the chat for it. But we do sit down with a lot of customers and ask how they rolled out Microsoft Teams, how they did it, how they drove deployment, adoption, what they learned. We have Lego and AEG and Polaris and companies like that. So I encourage you to check that out. And there is the link for that there. Joel, go ahead.
Is there a way to adjust your status manually? Right now,
Yes.
mine reflects what's in my Outlook calendar, so it shows the people that I'm read, and it deters them from asking questions.
Yes, if you go up to your search bar and type in a /, you can see where you can set your status to available, away, be right back, busy, etc. So give that a try and tell me what you see, and then give it and then actually try it, and it will change your status.
So I've done that, and it still seems that Outlook takes over and shows red no matter what. What I want to do is from my technicians, I want them from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. to always be green, no matter what is it. And the status. I know back in the day in Link, you used to be able to do that in the early versions of Skype, Skype for Business, but.
I know this one, and hang on. I know that under notifications, there is a way on the back end to set, and this is all based on working hours. If people have set up working hours, then it will do that. There is some areas on the back end. Let me launch here my admin console. And
we're having a hard time for people adopting Teams because they feel as if there's a big brother watching them if they go idle, and it shows that they're idle, that they're not working.
Got it. Well, idle just means that they're not using their PC, and you can set what that time is. But here's the thing, and this is the thing to tell them. There's no reporting on that. And yes, you can set it to always there. But then the problem is if I see that you're available and I text chat you and you're not answering me for 20 minutes, then that's going to get awfully confusing. So there's a few things that, hang on, there's one or two things, though, that can cause issues. If they're also logged in on the phone, it can be set to automatically move to the phone when you're away to show always on. So there are some different things that can do that. But let me double check on what we have in our documentation and then go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, thank you. It just would be nice that we can tell Teams our status, and we don't want Teams to determine what our status is.
Got it. The team status is always available. Let's see. Double checking our documentation here. There is a setting that you can use that says show when people message me, and you can pick available and then clear status messages after a piece in time. I've used Jiggler. Jiggler is a tool that actually just moves your mouse randomly every whatever you happen to pick, and that will always keep it there for that. But I know that there's a setting on the back end, and I'm trying to find it. While I'm looking for this, if there's another question, I'm looking at our doc stuff, and I'm also pinging one of our engineers to ask them too. All right, I have a few messages out, so hopefully I'll get an answer shortly back on that. But,
thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah, I know that there's a way to set the timeout status on that. And then I also know that within Teams itself, I can now set my working hours, and that's another one that can affect that as well. when I do set status. So if you go to set status message, you can do that. Show when people message me, clear status message, and your schedule out of office. That one I do know. But beyond that, oh, if you go to your status, you can now set duration for that. So you can now change it to status is, busy, and you could say reset status after, and you can pick a custom amount. So if you go up to your icon up at the top where your name would be, and you go click on your picture, you'll actually see status and where you can reset that status and even do custom. So for a whole week, just say that you're busy or available, but you can pick a time range. Do you see that, or do you need me to share it with you?
I'm looking right now. I haven't found it yet.
Okay, I'll share then. So give me a moment. So if I go here, and I'll bring this over. So give me a moment. Wait for that to refresh. So if I go up here and click on status, and here where it says, under presenting, I can go to duration, and I can click and I can say set status as busy or do not disturb or appear away or appear offline or whatever. And I can say keep it that way for 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours for the whole day for this week, or even do custom that will keep it till that date. And I know that there's a PowerShell script that you can run to do this as a default too.
I see busy, do not disturb, be right back, appear away, appear offline, but not online.
Well, available is only going to be then when you're available. Available means that you're at. There is a timeout setting I did find that you can set for when available changes to one of the other settings. That can be done through a PowerShell, and you'll have to set a time for it. The default, I think right now, is set for 10 minutes. So if 10 minutes, if you haven't done anything on your PC, then it moves to be right back or appear away. And you can set that. But for available, there's no way to force available, but you can change the timeout.
Okay. Yeah, back in the day of Link, you'd be able to just set it for 8 hours available online, and if you went away from your computer for an hour, it'd still show you as available.
Right. And the thing is, though, if you do a handoff to your phone, and if you say when I'm unavailable on desktop and go over to phone, if your phone status is set for available, it will reflect that. So that's something that you can do when you are away. But there was a lot of complaints from people saying these people, we have help desk and it says they're available, and then I send a call to them and they're not available, or they're not there, or they're at lunch. We need it to be more reflective of the status where people are at. But it's important to let end users know. There's no reports that say how many hours a day were you available, not available, and not there. It is reflecting your true presence, but if they're using mobile, they can't have that handoff to mobile. And I'll see if I can find more about changing those timeout settings. So I'm still waiting to hear back from engineering.
Cool. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yep, absolutely. It's a good question and a valid one. Any other questions? This is great so far. These are awesome questions. So thank you.
Hey, Stephen, if I can jump in, I've got a question for you. You know a ton about Teams. What features really make you geek out and just like want to talk about them for hours?
Some of the big geek out features. One of my personal favorites is the ability for you through Microsoft Edge, if you have to be in multiple tenants simultaneously, to be able to save any website, and that includes a Teams tenant, as a separate app. So I'll show this to you. So what I've done here is I actually went into my so if I were to go, let's say, into my admin console, or go here, let's say to this tech community site, I can go up here and I can say apps, install this site as an app. And what I've done is I have set up an admin tenant. So I have a demo tenant as an admin. And what's great is I can now log into this with my admin credentials. And what's nice is I can do this without needing to logging out of the current tenant that I am in Teams. And that's really incredibly useful if you're working inside of multiple tenants. So here I am inside of my Microsoft tenant, and I'm also here inside of this Microsoft community tenant where this event is happening, and I'm able to do both of these simultaneously. And the fact that I can do that, and I can do this across 5, 6, 7 tenants at the same time, is a super cool feature. Or I could make this my admin tenant or a third party. So that's one of the features that I'm a huge geek fan of, that I absolutely love and has made working inside of Teams so much better for me on a lot of ways. Another one is under new conversation. A lot of people don't realize that you can do this, but you can also change a new conversation to an announcement. And in doing an announcement, what's really cool is if you're going to do an announcement to a group, I can go down here and change this to announcement, and then I get all these really cool things like type in a headline and drop in a really cool background. So I can upload an image here, and I could say, let's see, I can go to my pictures, and I can go to, let's see, something good here. I can drop in the Motorhead logo. Because that's a good thing to have. So I'm going to drop in my Motorhead logo there. So there's the Motorhead logo, and I can type in my headline and subheadlines and drop in paragraphs, and I can put in, tables and all of that. And a lot of folks don't realize that you can, that you can have that and post that into multiple channels also, which is great. So you can select all the channels that you want to post this. And some people just had no clue that you can even do that. So the announcement feature is really great when you want to do something across multiple tenants, which is really, really awesome. We've also now brought in Viva Learning as a new feature that you can drop in. So you could search for a subject and skill. So let's say you wanted to share some training with someone. So we could type in Teams, if I were to spell it right. And I would see if I had a whole bunch of really cool Teams training, I would see that showing up underneath here. So it would say, okay, great. That's all the Teams training that you're looking to do. You do have approvals now built right in. So you can set up approvals right here within Teams. You don't have to start going through, and we support Adobe Sign and templates and approval and a basic request. So that can be done without having to set up a whole separate Power App. So I find that incredibly useful. So those are a few of the ones that we have that we've done, and we have so many more, but those are probably some of the ones that at least have made my day easier as I continue to sort of do things within the platform and move back and forth, that have made my life easier as I continue to sort of do these things and move through these different areas. So those are probably some of the biggest ones. One or two others is now that we're bringing in the context editor with IQ, that when I'm chatting with someone, I can say, did you see the deck from Stella? And it will automatically show me a list of the decks that she's sent. And I know Holly got it, so I can drop it in right there and not have to start searching for it elsewhere. So the context IQ and context editor, which we've started to get inside of our Teams tenants, has also made a really big difference. So those are some of my favorites. Satish, go ahead.
Steve, it has been most of the customers who have been requesting this is, when are we bringing Outlook within Teams?
Bringing out Outlook within Teams?
Yeah,
that's a great question. And you're not
we don't
have
to navigate.
Yeah,
navigate
between
different
You're not
apps.
going to like my answer for this, which is, if people are asking to bring Outlook into Teams, you're not using Teams correctly. And let me explain what I mean by that. We have seen a huge shift in how folks are using our products and services and how that comes together. And I'm going to share an interesting slide that I shared in my session earlier today. So give me a moment and I'll share this, because this is going to set up what I'm going to talk about here in just a moment. So I'm going to share this slide. And this talks about the 4 generations of users. For the first time ever in the history of technology, we have 4 generations of users that are currently working in our offices. We have baby boomers that make up 4%. These are folks who had a desktop PC or a 486 and a turbo button and a floppy drive, but they really see it as all of their software is installed onto that device and all of their files are there on the device. They're the ones when you're on a plane and you see them going through all their different hotel reservations and all that. That's those folks. Gen X, same thing, but really they were the first to have laptops. So they get portability, but they're still working off of everything on the device. They need to be connected to a VPN or Wi-Fi really to get things done. Millennials are the first generation born in the cloud. Basically, they see the only thing I need on a PC is a browser. That's all I need. Everything else is in the cloud. I can get to my email, I can get to Teams, Office, I can do everything through a browser, and all of my files are stored in the cloud, which means I can access them anywhere from any device and do it securely. I don't need to have software. If my laptop dies, who cares? I went on vacation and I only brought my iPad because I knew anything I needed to do, I could do from my iPad. And if I couldn't do it from that because it required a lot more computing, it's probably something I shouldn't have been doing on my vacation. So I should probably go, hey, this will have to wait till I get back. Gen Z, 18% of new hires and of company hires, they don't see a difference between a phone and a laptop. They just see it as a way to get to their content. Now, when we look at millennials and Gen Z making up nearly 60% of our workers, these are the ones who say, you should allow me to work from anywhere. If I want to work on a Mac, an iPad, an Android tablet, my phone, a laptop, it shouldn't make a difference. And I should be able to work from Starbucks or home the same way that I work. Now, what's interesting is these are the same folks, and I worked with a bunch of these folks when I was in engineering, and I sent them an email. And engineering came back to me and 5 days later with an answer. Then I sent another question on top of that. The bottom line is it took me a week to get an answer, over a week. I reached out, this is before we had Teams, and I said, hey, I'm trying to get an answer to this, and it's taking a week to get back and forth. Why does it take so long to go? Oh, because we don't use email. Email is how you tell me there's donuts in the break room, but it's not how we're getting work done. We use, at that point, whatever chat tool we were using before Teams. So when I had a question, next time I'd go into Teams, I'd type a chat, they'd answer it, and they go, oh, well, let me bring in Bob, and Bob came in, and Mary came in, and they all answered, and it was done. What we're realizing is this 50 to 60% of workers, the ones we want to keep because they're the cheapest to hire, they're looking to get experience, they want to work the way that we do, are chat-based. That's how they do things. And their goal is, I'm going to answer the questions, close this, and move off. They don't really look to email. So the problem we're having is those older workers are very reliant upon email because they're doing everything there. If those higher level execs were using Teams, meaning everything that pertains to a project, all the conversations, all the emails, all the meetings, all the chats were there, then you start to find the amount of email you're sending drop dramatically. The only emails you're sending out are ones that apply to everybody across the company around general things. This is our results for the quarter. This is our new product launch and announcement. But anything that relates to a specific project should be done inside of Teams. The other reason why that's so important, and this is something I say to managers, is if XYZ person, if Satish were to leave this company tomorrow, how easy would it be for the person replacing him to get up to speed? And they would say, oh, it's going to be very difficult because there's all these emails and content and share drives and all of this. Instead of saying, no, it shouldn't be a problem, we'll drop him into this team. They can see all the conversations, all the meetings, all the chats, all the files, and in the matter of days, they can be up to speed and ready to be engaged. So we're seeing a huge shift in how email is being used and how people are doing it. It's not to say that every Gen X and every Gen Z is going to not want to use email at all, and that every person my age or every baby boomer is only going to be using email or go that route. But that tends to be a lot of where they still feel like things are happening. And it's important to understand, and as you look at things, why are we sending this as an email? Does it apply to everybody or is it specific? And it is specific. Getting it into those teams and having those conversations happen where that's at, where organically other people who are not included are able to be a part of that, are able to engage and have their thoughts. Now we're collaborating. Where email is a one-to-many, but it's a one-way communication. The goal is to have that round-trip communication and to be able to go in, answer that, add that attachment, drop in those quotes, add other people that should be added to it, and make it part of it. I know I'm making it sound much easier. I know it's harder for people to change the way that they've been doing things, but we see email as a one-way push collaboration, push method rather than Teams, which is a bi-collaborational method, as a different way of doing business. And that's something that will just take time for those folks. But a lot of that comes from training and awareness and understanding what Teams can do. That tends to happen in companies where they replace Skype for Business with Teams, and they're only using Teams for chat and for calling and not using it for collab because they didn't make driving adoption and having their adoption plan and change management before they deployed the tool. Now I've just said a whole lot and been through a whole lot. So I want to hear your thoughts on that, Satish, and how you feel about that before I allow other people to jump in there.
Absolutely. Steve, in terms of the Teams adoption, what we have seen during this pandemic, it has been a great adoption. But still, there are few. If you look at in different organizations, there are still few folks who still use Outlook widely as well. So that's the reason why they have been asking when Microsoft is coming up with Outlook within Teams, so that it becomes one app.
It's
across
not.
all the platforms.
So the answer is it's not. They can always show them the forward an app to Teams, that you can take an email and forward it to Teams. That becomes a great thing then, and forward that into that. Here's the thing, as when people start to turn to those people are still doing email and they go, hi, I'm looking for this or that. Oh, it's in Teams. Oh, it's in Teams. Oh, it's in Teams. What will happen is, and you see this across every company, and every customer I've talked to says this, all the customers on my show, after a while, those people who kept wanting that finally got sick and tired of hearing it's in Teams and finally went over to Teams, the stragglers. Anytime you're going to do a deployment, you have 30% of your users are, or 15% are, give it to me, I want it right now. 15% are, I'm never going to change, I love the way I'm doing things. And you have 70% of people in the middle saying, I like Teams, but. Focus on that 70% to move them over to using Teams, and that positive, that will drag that other 15%, the people who are going, I don't like Teams, or I don't want to change the way I'm working, or when is email going to come to Teams? And after a while, they're going to go, it's already here. And if I want to continue to work with those folks, I'm going to have to change the way I work and move over. And that will happen naturally, but there are ways to speed that process up. Does that help?
Yep, that definitely helps.
Awesome. Good. And I'm open to other people. I know Jay was personally offended by that, so I want to ask him. Sasha, I'm going to go to you, then I'll go to Jay.
Yeah, thank you very much. So to underline your statement, I think it's also very important that you, as a Microsoft, put out the Surface Duo 2 as a productivity monster. Very nice. And I talked also with Bobby Jean in my last community event about that 2 hours interview. And yeah, so the things you said is very important to organizations, that they got this fundamental basement and understanding and this consciousness how to use team in a proper and productivity way, and then gain efforts and more success with the Surface Duo 2. Because if you are a sales warrior, it's very important that you use the time wisely. And yeah, I like it a lot, and I can only say in combination with Azure Virtual Desktop or even Windows 365 Cloud PC, it's just a big advanced for this.
I agree. Yeah, and it's about understanding the end user's pain. Like when you go to a doctor, the doctor asks you a lot of questions to understand what's wrong with you. You need to understand what are the things that your end users are doing that are causing them not to be productive. I'm spending a lot of time doing approvals. I'm having to go back through 5 years of emails or this and that. By sending out surveys and understanding what is not working, and then going, hi, that's great. Here's how we can resolve this. And for example, if it was back pain, you would send out a new policy saying, here's our new office ergonomics policy and procedure. You would put up posters on, here's the ideal position to sleep, and people going by the desk to show that to them. Well, same thing for Teams. Hi, from management, we're now going to be using Teams. We're now, management's going to be on camera. Here's how we're going to be doing things. Here are cheat sheets on how to use Teams and how to use it best. And you're going to have a change champion. You're going to have at least one person in every department who is your Teams expert, who has gone through the training and who will help you and show you how to do your job better with it. But you have to do that, what's in it for me, that with them. These guys are enamored with that piece of cheese about to go onto an iron. What is it about that cheese that's so interesting? And what is going to come of this? And letting people know how this is going to make their job better and easier, because you understand what their pain is and you understand what you may do to solve that, is such a critical piece. And that has to happen before deployment. So the more you understand your end users and how Teams is going to make their life better, and the more that you have your managers, your senior executives using the product, getting on camera, posting in Teams, posting these, not sending documents around, but putting them into Teams and sharing them out on projects, the more you'll find other people starting to get caught up on that. Jay, why are my descriptions of generations overly aggressive?
Because because I think you looped me into the group that spends too much time looking at all the connectedness on their phone instead of just living with the moment.
It's not even about the connectiveness. It's just like my daughter would sit in the back seat and she'd be on her phone working on a PowerPoint, uploading it to Sharepoint while chatting with a friend and FaceTiming, and could do all that beautifully. Where I'm still from the laptop thing where I can really only work on one device at a time, although I have 2 monitors, but I still use a desktop version of Teams, a desktop version of Outlook, where I look at the younger workers at Microsoft and they're doing everything in the cloud. They open up a browser and everything is done in the browser. And that's just not me and how I work yet. There are just, so it's different, but that's such a core piece of how so many people work. And it's important to understand that, but also to say, hey, here's what you're missing and here's how to move forward. But those workers who can work off a phone or work off an iPad and do that stuff, those are the ones who are making half of what those executives and other people are making. And those are the ones who you want to keep because they're cheaper. They're going to do work the way you want. You're going to train them to do stuff. But if they turn around and you say, you have to work at your desk and you have to work off this laptop and you can't share files and you can't do this and you can't do that, they're going to go, screw you. I'm going to go work for a company who lets me do this and lets me work in my shorts from a Starbucks. And they'll find it. And that company will do well because they've hired that worker who is so innovative and is finding new ways to do things rather than that person who's been doing things the same way and worked for the company 30 years, who is not innovating anymore to the level that some of these new folks coming in are.
Absolutely. And I just want to, as we come to wrapping up on time, I just want to comment the importance for IT organizations to understand they are now business solution providers, not technology providers. And that as much as I commented on your generations statement, the comments you made in there are absolutely correct, that we cannot just look at it as deploying a tool and making it, the way it used to work. We have to help people understand what's in it for them. Very good stuff, man.
Yeah, no, change management is now part of IT and has to be part of IT. And if you're not a Scrum expert or a change management expert, you're going to want to hire one and bring one in and learn. We did a great episode with one on our show, and it's our highest viewed episode from last season. But it is a game changer once you really understand what is it going to take people to do this. Now you have a company that's more agile, that's doing things differently and thinking differently and opening up new opportunities, which turns into business into business and profit. But step one is Teams is not an app. Outlook is an app. Teams is a platform that allows you to bring all of these other apps and things into it and really becomes the center of work. And as it starts to become more of the center, a lot of these apps will fall away and you'll be building your own things and building your own apps or bringing in third party. I'm getting ready to do a whole thing with Jira where you'll be able to turn turn a chat into a help desk request right inside of Teams without ever leaving the app and things like that they're bringing. And we're finding deeper and deeper integration from a lot of our third-party partners. So there's some really exciting stuff coming in the next few months. I got time for one last question. I think, Jay, are we wrapping it up?
We got time for one more as long as you don't keep the answer too long.
I'll keep the answer short. I know I'm a little long-winded. All right, one last question, and it's from Oleg, somebody new. All right, hang on, Oleg. We'll make you a presenter, and then you're going to ask your question, but it's hopefully got to be a short one. Go for it. You are live.
Hi, Steve. Thank you. Do you have something to share regarding new Teams 2.0?
I don't have anything to share on Teams 2.0 at this time. We're adding a lot of new functionality to the product. We're always looking to make the product more thinner and using less resources and running better. And that's really our focus. But Teams is still on top of the SharePoint platform. And as we look to separate that out, which will eventually be kind of a core piece of Teams 2.0, there's a lot of work we have to do now to get us to that point. So I don't have a timeline on it, but it's still something that we're working on, but we're trying to get as many improvements into the current platform as much as possible. And that's really where our focus is right now. I know I didn't answer the question, but that's what I know. And I've shared what I know. So there you go.
Thank you.
All right, Jay, we can wrap it up. That was a good question though. Oh, hang on. One last one from Nancy. All right, Nancy, it better be a short one. Hang on. All right. Made you a presenter. Give me a second. All right, Nancy, go for it.
There we go. So is I just heard the last question. Is there going to be a divorce between Teams and SharePoint?
It's not going to be necessarily a divorce, but Teams sits on top of the SharePoint framework. So our goal is to kind of separate those a little bit in the future to make Teams allow it to run faster and thinner, but it's not going to change the usage and the relationship between them, but it's sort of separating those two out. And that's really sort of the goal of Teams 2.0, but we're still a ways off from bringing that in. I did an interview with Jeff Teeper and we talk about that, and he'll actually give you the engineering answer, which I just posted up on my show last week. So if you want to check that out, that'll go deeper. But we're not looking to lose functionality, but we're looking to make the client thinner and faster and use less resources, and that's the goal.
Thanks.
Okay. All right, Jay, now we're done. No more. Go ahead and close it out.
I'm demoting you just so you can't keep going. Thank you,
There you
Stephen,
go.
for your help, for your time today, man. Really good stuff.
Awesome. This was great. Thanks, everybody. And I'll type in my Twitter handle if you have any questions. It's a great place to reach out to me via Twitter. So there it is. It's at Stephen L. Rose. And if you want to check out the show, I'll drop that into aka.ms inside MS Teams.
I'm not sure if we can see any of that.
It's in chat. So if you go over to chat, you can see it.
There's no chat option.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll tell you, it's at
you
Stephen
can't-
L. Rose. That's my Twitter handle. And aka.ms/inside MS Teams is my show. So feel free to check that out. It's also in my bio for this conference. So, and Jay can send it to you.
So while we're transitioning, if you can't see the chat in the meetings, but you're a guest in the tenant, browse your way over to the sessions and schedule channel, and that will give you access to the chat history. If you are not seeing that, then apologize. Hit us up on Twitter, M365 Chicago, and let us know what your questions are, and we'll connect you with the right speakers. Thanks, Stephen. Heather, I think it's
Thank you. I wish I was there in Chicago, being a native Chicago, and I wish I was there today. I'm not, but maybe next time. Heather, I miss seeing you in Chicago whenever I'm there. How are you? Always good to see you. I'm
muted. I was muted. I forgot to turn the button.
Always good to see you. How are you?
Always good to see you too. Who's our next speaker? That is.
I don't know. I'm getting out of here because now I got to go to a meeting. So thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks, Heather.
Enjoy
Good
your
to see you.
meeting.
Thanks, Jay. I appreciate it. Great to see everybody.
Thanks for presenting. It's always a pleasure.
All right. Bye.